Okay, hi there, and welcome to my 12.3 energy balance, energy intake, and energy expenditure assignment. So, the definition of energy is the strength and vitality required for sustained physical or mental activity. Ways that energy is measured is in there's two ways. There's calories and there's joules, and calories and a kcal is what you see on the back of food wrappers, like you can see in that picture. A kcal is the equivalent to 1,000 calories, and 1 kilojoule is the equivalent to 1,000 joules. And the reason they do this is because the otherwise it would be too difficult to add up with timesing it by 1,000 every time. So the body's main sources of energy are the three macronutrients. So carbohydrates, 1 gram of that is 4 calories. Fats, 1 gram is 9 calories, and protein, 1 gram is 4 calories. And you can see in the pictures below examples of every macronutrient. The techniques of measuring, you've got the skim-fold calipers. They've been argued lots as to how reliable they actually are. The reason for this is that they can give quite varied results. So the test involves getting the calipers at certain points in the body and pinching the skin with them to measure how thick the layer of fat under the skin is. The reason that they get varied results is because unless you are using a trained professional who knows the exact angles and measurements of how to gather the results, then the results you will get will not be accurate at all. The advantage of this test is that it is very cheap to carry out, as the only equipment you need is the calipers and they only cost £5 to £10 online. The disadvantage is that unless you are having it done by a trained professional, then the results are difficult to get accurate. So the second technique is the bioelectrical impedance analysis. You can see that in the picture above that this is another piece of equipment used to measure body composition. It works by putting your age and height into the machine and then holding it out in front of you, and the machine then sends a small and safe electrical impulse throughout the lower body, and this travels through fluid in the muscular tissue, and when the fat tissue slows it down, this is when we get our reading. The advantages of this test are that as long as you are fully hydrated, then it gives very accurate results. The disadvantage, on the other hand, is that if you are dehydrated, then this test can give really inaccurate results. Also, it is more expensive and arguably less accurate than the skim-fold calipers. So the final one is the hydrostatic weighing, and this is otherwise known as underwater weighing. This is arguably what would be called the gold standard of measuring body composition, along with the DEXA scan. It is done by measuring the out-of-water weight of the participant, and then once this is done, the participant sits on the apparatus and expels as much air out of their lungs as possible, and then they are lowered down into the water tank until all of the body parts are submerged. So as you can see in the picture above, the underwater weight is then taken through a complex formula. Um, the close to exact body fat is gathered. The advantages of this test are that it gives the most accurate body composition results, therefore it is extremely trustworthy. The disadvantages, however, are that it is very expensive for the equipment, and the equipment is usually found at universities, which makes it hard to access for the general population, so it mostly be students who have access to it, easy access to it anyway. So moving on to energy balance, BMR or basal metabolic rate. This is the amount of energy that our body uses when we are just resting in order to keep our vital organs functioning. The result of doing this is that if you are able to calculate yours, then you'll be given a minimum amount of calories that you should eat a day in order to keep your body functioning at a constant and efficient rate. Factors that can affect your BMR is there's four. There's body size, body composition, age, and gender. With body size, there are different metabolic rates for different body size because of different size of surface area and also different fat ratings, which moves me on to body composition. The fat tissue has a lower metabolic rate than muscle, meaning if you have a high body fat, then your metabolic rate is slower, meaning you burn calories a lot easier. For gender, the BMR is to 10% lower in women than it is men. So men have a much faster metabolism, meaning they burn calories much quicker than women do. And finally, age. So as you get older, you have a decrease in lean muscle tissue as we get older. And because if you have a higher body fat rating, then your metabolism is going to increase as a result of this. So METs now. METs are the estimate of the physical of the sorry. METs are the estimate of the amount of calories you burn during specific exercise. So whether it's something like cycling or even something like writing. The way it affects our BMI is because doing physical activity obviously burns calories, and as a result of this, we would have less energy left after it. So therefore, it means our BMR has to go up in order to, otherwise we would burn past the BMR and we wouldn't be able to function efficiently. The energy intake and output, you can see it's measured, basically summed up in these three scales here. So this is a simple form on how weight is gained, maintained, and lost. So you gain weight when you take in more energy in the form of calories than you are actually burning. So weight is lost when the opposite happens and more energy is used than actually is being taken in. So of course, the way weight is then maintained is when both energy intake and energy expenditure are exactly the same. So you can see it's just a straight line. So the RDAs for macros. So carbohydrates, you should be getting about 50 to 60% of your daily intake should be carbohydrates, of the essential carbohydrates. For the essential proteins, it should be 12 to 15%, and the fat should be 30 to 35%, and those are non-saturated fats. Calorimetry is two ways uh, in which the gases of the body are measured. So direct calorimetry is the amount of heat produced by the body. It involves using an airtight chamber where the heat produced by the participant heats the water in the copper pipes above them. The advantages of this method is that it gives precise results that cannot be wrong if the test is done correctly. However, it is very expensive to do, and most facilities are located on a university campus where it will be mostly students who are using it, and the general population, it will be difficult and they probably have to pay. Indirect calorimetry is the estimate of heat production, so it's an estimate, and this is done by measuring the gases that are exhaled. The most common method of getting these gases measured is the mouthpiece to Douglas bag method. The advantages of this is that it is much cheaper than the direct calorimetry, but on the other hand, it does not give as accurate results as it's just an estimate. The body weight and mass can affect the results because having a larger mass to move around means that the body has to work harder, which requires more joules of energy to keep those muscles contracting. So calculating BMI is actually different methods for men than it is to women. So with males, you multiply the body weight in pounds by 10, add double the body weight to this, and then divide the value by 4. Females, you do the body weight in pounds again, add the body weight to the value, and then divide it by 24. So for example, 100 for a male, this is 150 times 10 plus 300 equals 1,800. So this would be your calories a day. And then if you then go and divide that number by 24, there's going to be 69 calories an hour on average you should be consuming, but obviously you have a few hundred calories per meal, so you don't need to actually have them per hour. The factors that affect BMR is age, because as you get older, of course, muscle mass goes down, as was explained earlier. Body composition, the fat tissue has a lower metabolic rate, so the BMR has to go up. And the gender, females have 5 to 10% lower metabolism, and the physical activity is an increased muscle mass from the physical activity would mean you have a faster metabolism because the muscles burn calories a lot quicker than fat does. So you need to take in more calories. So the METs, how do you work out the METs? It is the actual thing it is, so the MET times 3.5 times your weight in kilograms. You then go and divide that by 200 and then times it by the duration you did that activity for. So my BMR is 1,815 per day. So on a day where I'm cycling to college and back, that's 108 calories. Going to the gym is 869. Sitting and studying throughout the day is 391 calories, and standing throughout the day for probably around 2 hours is 188 calories. Overall, the calories I should consume is 1,556 calories, and then this on top of my BMR would make my daily intake for this day 3,371 calories. So moving on to the professional of a world-class athlete, LeBron James's BMR is 2,500 calories per day. This because he obviously weighs a lot, and then his metabolism is quite high. This would actually result to 104 calories per hour. So the climate would not have a huge effect on LeBron's BMR because he lives on a ground level city, no high altitude with lower oxygen or anything. He lives in Cleveland in America. This would mean his metabolism would not have to speed up or slow down in order to fit the atmosphere around him. Age: LeBron is currently 32 years old. At this point in his career, it would be starting to affect LeBron because at the age of 18 to 21, the body stops developing muscle naturally. Therefore, it's going to be easier for LeBron to put on fat mass, meaning the metabolism could slow down, meaning his BMR would increase. LeBron is obviously a male, and as explained, men have a quicker metabolism than women. This means that LeBron's BMR would be higher than if he was comparing himself to a woman that weighs the same as him. So LeBron's macros, this was taken when he was in his pre-season. He was actually trying to lose weight, but then obviously keep with his regular training schedule of working out basketball specific training for 2 hours in the morning and then cardio training for an hour for the rest of the day. The carbohydrates he was having per day was 83 grams across the whole day. The fats were 49 grams and the protein was 85 grams. So the overall calories, the average calories he was consuming per day was around 1,127. Okay, that concludes my PowerPoint. Thank you for watching.